The Whispering Shadows. A group of urban explorers ventures into an abandoned mansion deep in the forest, ignoring the warnings of the locals. The house is rumored to be cursed, its halls filled with unseen eyes and murmuring voices. At first, they chalk up the whispers to the wind slipping through the cracks, but as they move deeper inside, the whispers turn into voices calling their names. One by one, they begin seeing shadowy figures out of the corners of their eyes. Figures that seem to move closer whenever the lights flicker. When they finally try to leave, they find that the front door leads only to another room inside the house. The mansion has trapped them, and the whispers are no longer just voices. They belong to something that is very much alive. The Forgotten Room. An investigative journalist is sent to write about an old abandoned asylum set for demolition. As they explore the decaying halls, they come across a locked door with no record of its existence. After forcing it open, they find a perfectly preserved room, untouched by time, as if someone had just left. The furniture is arranged neatly, an old phonograph still spinning on the desk, and the air carries the scent of freshly burned candles. But the moment they step inside, the door slams shut behind them, and they begin to hear scratching sounds from inside the walls. As they frantically search for a way out, they notice something even more terrifying: photographs on the desk featuring themselves, but from moments they haven't yet lived. The Midnight Visitor. A security guard working the night shift at an abandoned hospital begins to notice something strange. Every night at exactly 3 a.m., one of the cameras on the upper floors captures movement, doors opening on their own, shadows passing by the windows, and the faint sound of hospital equipment beeping in the silence. One night, he decides to check it out in person. As he walks the empty halls, he hears the sound of distant breathing. Following the noise, he enters an old patient room where the monitor suddenly flickers to life. On the screen, he sees a grainy live feed of himself standing in the room. But in the reflection behind him, there is something else, something smiling. The Vanishing Floor. A group of urban explorers finds an old hotel that has been abandoned for decades. While wandering its dark corridors, they stumble upon an elevator that shouldn't be operational. Out of curiosity, they press the buttons, and to their surprise, the doors creak open. Inside, they find an extra button labeled 13. They press it. The elevator shudders violently before coming to a stop. When the doors open, they step out into a lavish, fully lit hallway, filled with music and the faint hum of voices. It seems like a hotel from another era, untouched by time. But when they turn back, the elevator's gone. The music stops, and the lights begin to flicker, revealing the shadows of faceless figures standing at the end of the hall, watching them. The Diary of the Dead. A historian researching an old Victorian house finds a hidden compartment inside the bedroom wall, containing a leather-bound diary. As they begin reading, they realize the entries describe events exactly as they are experiencing them. What they ate that day, what time they arrived at the house, even the way they felt uneasy exploring the place. But the last few pages send chills down their spine. The entries describe a tragic event that hasn't happened yet, one where the historian is trapped inside the house, unable to escape, their screams echoing into the void. Panicked, they try to leave, but as they reach for the door, the final page writes itself. They turned to leave, but it was already too late. The House That Moves, an old house in the middle of the forest, has a bizarre legend attached to it. Every night at exactly midnight, it disappears and reappears in a different location within the woods. No one knows how or why. A group of thrill seekers decides to enter the house just before midnight to see what happens. At first, nothing seems unusual, but as the clock strikes 12, the walls tremble, the floorboards creak, and a sudden silence blankets the air. Looking outside, they realize the house has moved, now surrounded by thick, unfamiliar trees. Their phones show no signal. When they try to open the front door, they find only a wall behind it. The house has sealed itself, and the whispers from the attic suggest they are not alone. The mirror that watches after moving into an old estate inherited from a distant relative. A young woman discovers a large, ornate mirror covered in dust in the basement. She cleans it and brings it upstairs, admiring its craftsmanship. But as she gazes into it, she notices that sometimes, just for a split second, her reflection doesn't move with her. Over the next few days, her reflection becomes different. It smiles when she isn't. It tilts its head slightly when she walks away. And one night, as she gets up to leave the room, her reflection doesn't follow her at all. Instead, it stays in the mirror, watching her with cold, unblinking eyes. The Silent Town. A traveler gets lost in the woods and stumbles upon a town that doesn't appear on any maps. It's eerily silent. There are houses, stores, and streetlights, but no people. Desperate for shelter, they enter what appears to be a functioning inn, complete with a lit fireplace and fresh food on the tables. The guest book even has names written in it, the most recent entry only a few days old. But as the sun sets, things begin to change. Shadows move on their own, lights flicker, and a strange message appears on the walls, written in blood. Leave before they wake. The traveler tries to escape, but every road leads back to the same town. The silence breaks at midnight with the sound of footsteps, many, many footsteps. The endless corridor. A team of scientists exploring an abandoned psychiatric hospital discovers a hallway that seems to stretch on forever. No matter how far they walk, they always end up back where they started. Frustrated, one of them marks the wall with a knife. But when they turn around, the mark is gone. As panic sets in, they begin hearing whispers coming from the darkness ahead. The hallway lights flicker, revealing figures standing at the edges of their vision. Their radios crackle to life with a voice, one of their own voices, pleading for help from somewhere far, far away. The Forgotten Faces. A photographer visits an old mansion known for its tragic history. As they take pictures, everything seems normal until they develop the film. In the photos, they see blurred, ghostly figures standing in the background, watching them. When they return to the house to investigate, they find an old photo album containing the same ghostly figures, but this time their own faces among them. A whisper echoes through the room. You were always one of us.